Hello, welcome back. Welcome back to the Technology Innovation Hub. It's going to be a session from DevOps Portal. This time it's going to be on Azure Kubernetes Cluster. Let me share the screen. Right. So on the previous session, and if we just take a look at our channel and the DevOps Portal, I think the last one we were working on and we completed the COPS cluster, right? Creating COPS cluster. So we know COPS is a fully automated production ready cluster. So that's what we did with the previous practical. So now let's start to create the cluster on Azure, right? Azure Cloud. So that is what today's practical is all about. To start with the things, so we need to have there are some prerequisites, and you can see the reference. I have given the reference. This is Microsoft because I'm going to follow a guide from Microsoft itself. So this is the guide, the other walkthrough. So I have given this link. Later you can refer to this, right? Because they have a lot of guides to create Kubernetes cluster. This is one of the best ones I have selected. So you can refer to that one later. So because this document is covering up whatever the necessary things to do this practical successfully. Right. And the next one is, okay, we need to do authentication, portal.azure.com. I think I have the login. Yeah. Let's check. Yeah. So I have already logged in. This is my Azure portal and I have a subscription. And no worry, this is a free tier one, right? So you also can do the same. You can just create a free tier account, no issues. The only thing is upgrade that account to pay as you go model. So therefore you will have 12 months of free usage with $200 of credit, right? So with $200 of credit is more than enough for you to do a lot of practicals, right? So it won't cost you, right? And as far as you are within the resource usage within the free tier, but I think you can do a lot of practicals within the free tier, right? So get a free tier account created and utilize that $200, right? Yeah. So then the very first thing is Cloud Shell, right? I think most of you have worked with Azure cluster. You know what is Cloud Shell is all about. So this is Cloud Shell, right? It is just another command line tool, like the command prompt we are using on Windows, like the terminal we are using on Linux. So this is the same thing on the cloud. So it's a ready-made tool because a lot of features are inbuilt. For example, now we have been using kubectl. You may remember, right? Kubectl we need to separately configure on, but in this place on the Cloud Shell, it is automatically configured for us. Even the CLI is automatically available, AZ CLI. We don't need to have separate configuration. So we can use if it is required. But the only thing is this initiation of this Cloud Shell, it requires some background resources like storage account and all. So long term, it might be an additional cost. So therefore, it's okay to use, but use with precautions, right? And so I am for this practical, I'm not going to use Cloud Shell, right? So let's get used to our command line itself because everything is possible on command line. So what we will do, we will configure all the necessary tools in our command line in order to pop up a cluster or spin up a cluster and to interact with the cluster as well. Right. So having said that, the next thing is the very first requirement is configuring the CLI on our local machine or in the Linux or on the Windows, right? So the CLI configuration, I have given it here because it is there actually, nothing to explain it in a document. This is what, and the Azure site itself, this document says how to configure the CLI Azure. And the thing is this, now either you can configure on Windows, you can see install for Windows. You can install on Windows, right? Or you can go for Linux. But in our case, we are not going to go on Windows. We're going to go on Linux. If it is on Windows, we just click it. It's just a matter of click based installation. We have the MSI, so we can just click here and it will start downloading the MSI. And if you just click and you can just finish the installation, and it will integrate with the command prompt, Windows command prompt, as well as PowerShell. It will integrate with both automatically. So you can just use either PowerShell or command prompt once you download the CLI for Windows. But as I mentioned earlier, we are going to use what? We are going to use Linux, because all our practicals were based on Linux. Continuously, we have been using Minikube and cluster creation, manual cluster creation, all we did in Linux based. So therefore, we're going to continue the same pattern. So install on Linux. And this is not a big challenge. So you can see the apt installer, that is for Ubuntu, and identified yum. This is the new yum version, and yum command dnf identified, and that is also there. Zipper also there, but use this. Install script anywhere on either OS. So use that one. That is pretty easy, right? So if you go down, you can see there's only one single liner command. There's only one command you have to just copy this as root, execute this one. You can switch to different user later by configuring and copying the CLI. That's okay. But as root, execute this one, right? And then it is done for you. It's not a big challenge. Try it yourself. You can get it configured. So once you do that, then you will get Azure command line. AZ commands can be executed from the Azure commands. Fine. Okay, so we are good there. And after that, you can see authenticate into the Azure portal in command line. AZ login, right? And let's try it. So I have already configured my command line here. So I'm just running AZ login. So I think it is, yeah. So it is right away calling your browser automatically, and it's asking your account. So this is my account. I have given the password already, so that's why it's not asking it. But in your case, if you are doing it the first time, it will ask your password and it will complete authentication. So once the authentication is completed, you can see your subscriptions are listed, right? So, and don't worry about this gadget input message, that you can forget about that one. And actually, in later OSs with OEL 8, this message doesn't come. That's okay. It's no harm at all. So this is my subscription. So it is already logged in now, right? So just the command AZ login, right? All right. So let's clear it. The next step, now authentication is done. Yeah, good. Authentication is done. And the next immediate step is we need to have a resource group created. Resource group created. Right? So what is the resource group? Resource group is not a big game in Azure. I mean, in AWS also they have a different concept. Now this is in Azure. So this is logically, you can see it is already explained. Azure resource group is a logical group in which Azure resources are deployed and managed. So that's why, because for this AKS cluster or the Kubernetes cluster deployment, we need certain resources, storage account, networking, and some configuration information. So what it's going to do is going to group everything and store it in a single place. That is what this resource group is all about, like S3 bucket. Something like similar, because you may remember Cox cluster creation, we store the configuration on the S3 bucket, right? So the following example creates a resource group. So it's pretty simple. Just to create a resource group, you can just create a resource group like this, AZ group create, and in my case, I'm having this one, Azure resource group, yeah, TNH RS group, that is the name, right? And the location, the region is East US. So you can use, depending on your requirement, you can change the name and your location. No problem, right? And let's try it. But I think this one should be already there in my case, right? So let's see. We can check it. That's no issue like that. So it will say already exists, right? Let's see. Oh, it should have been dropped, right? It's okay. So succeeded. Group created successfully, right? So that is that TNH resource group, TNH RSGP, it is created. So that's the next step. Resource group is done. And if you want to list the existing group, we can just run the group list command. That is okay, right? And after that, further enable monitoring. Now this is, we are just setting up the background in order to create the Azure Kubernetes cluster. And so this is for monitoring. Now, in Azure also, there's a graphical interface to monitor this cluster, right? In the portal, there's a GUI. Let's visit there later. Initially, we are going to familiar with the command line, and later we visit there. And okay, to get these insights, that means graphically, to get the things, for example, we can see operations, what is happening as of now, and the operations management and operation insights, right? So we need certain parameters to be enabled in our subscription itself, right? Our subscription level, those features must be supported. So that's why we are enabling this one. Even for command line, we need these features. Otherwise, certain operations with a cluster may not be possible, right? So therefore, we need to enable that one. But this is just one time, right? If you have already done it, it is there for you. We can check it. Now, in my case, you can see this is the command. We can say show and the table value. We can see this is the parameter and the value if it is registered. Again, you can see first time it will say not registered output. This is the operation management. This is inside. See, first time both are not registered. But in my case, since I have done it previously as well, I think it is registered. Let's check. Yeah, it is already registered, right? So the other one was also, we can check there. Yes, and this one also should be registered. Operation management and operation insights. Yeah, both are registered. That's fine. So in your case, when you're doing for the first time, what you have to do, it is a not registered like this. So register using this command. Register using this command, right? This is to get the output show, and this is to register. You have to register separately both operation management and insights. So it will take for a while, right? It will take 1 minute, at least 1 minute for each, right? So wait for a while. You can see the output is say registering, right? And finally only it got registered, right? Like that. Okay, right? So I think we are good up to that place. So step 3 is configured. So CLI and the resource group creation, parameter enable, and that is done. Now we are good to create the cluster. Yeah, let's create the cluster now. Create AKS cluster, create, you can see the command AKS, right? AZ CLI, AKS the tool, create. And we are, you can see link in our resource group, which is just created earlier. And the name of the cluster I have given TNH AKS cluster. You can make your own choice. A number of nodes 2. Now, one thing to remember here, node count means which nodes. Now, this is a managed cluster. We don't have master node here, right? We have only the worker nodes because it's a managed cluster. Now we have learned the architecture. We know what are the master nodes and worker nodes, right? And we have manually also created the cluster. So we know the difference now, right? In the channel, all are there, right? You can watch, go back and watch if you can't remember those stuff. But here it is a managed cluster. So you won't be able to get the master node. So node count 2 means what? 2 worker nodes will be up. It will spin up 2 worker nodes. They can check once the cluster is done. And this is just to enable the monitoring, the previously configured parameters, and this is for authentication purpose, SSH. All right. Fine. So let's run this command. It will take a while actually. It will take 4 to 5 minutes to configure this cluster. Let's run this command, right? Yeah, this. Okay, let's run this. Yeah, we're good, right? Let's see whether it's initializing it, the creation of the cluster. So once it's initialized, it should continue. Otherwise, there can be issues, right? We have to monitor it because subscription issues can be there, the permission issues can be there, the resource group issues, access likewise. So there can be issues. Let's wait for a while. If it is started successfully, then it will normally continue. It won't fail in between. Let's wait and see. So in the meantime, so I think the output I have given, the way it creates, right? And so it will go all the way like this and create finally till the necessary resources, and we can check those things, right? Stock keeping unit and SKUs, yeah, node resource group, and likewise. So let's take a look at it. Port CIDR is there, CIDR, right? DNS service IP, yes, those things. Yeah, let's watch here what's happening now. Yeah, it's running. So it will create, right? So this will take 4 to 5 minutes. And yes, I think we are good. So let me start the next session once it's created. Yeah, I'll start the next session as soon as it's done. So until then, bye for now. Have a great time. I'll meet you soon. Okay, bye-bye.